Welcome to our live training session here with a 2004 Honda Civic Si. We're going to learn how to calibrate and tune this vehicle using an Emtron KV8 standalone system. Let's jump into some details about our vehicle. And we're going to find that this particular Honda Civic Si has had engine swap performed to it. It has a K24 engine that's been fitted into the chassis along with a 6-speed transmission. Now the K24 engine has been fully rebuilt. It has a K20 head, it has a K24 bottom end, and we have 12.5:1 compression pistons along with forged rods, upgraded valve train, a 50-degree VTC gear, and a Type S oil pump. So pretty standard modifications when you're rebuilding a K-Series engine. Now on the fuel system side of things, we have RDX 410cc injectors along with a drop-in fuel pump and a flex fuel sensor that's been fitted to the fuel system and wired back into our Emtron. Now on the exhaust side of things, we have a header back exhaust. On the intake side of things, we have a Skunk 2 intake, Skunk 2 throttle body, and a custom intake. Now in addition to this, we have additional sensors such as a fuel pressure sensor. Again, we mentioned our flex fuel sensor, and we also have an AEM X series wideband that we've all wired into our Emtron. And we're going to learn how we can create a base map here in our very first tutorial, setting up all of our inputs and outputs for our vehicle. So let's jump into our tutorial here and learn how to start our base map creation process. Welcome to our live training session here with our K24 swapped Civic Si. Now we just went over all the details of the vehicle. Let's jump into our Emtune software and begin the calibration process by starting to build our base file for the vehicle that we're working with here. So it's going to be based on this K-Series engine and the modifications that we've done. Now, in this particular video, we're going to go over the input and output and configuration detail setup. This is the very first thing you need to go in and configure and dial in for your base map for the application and engine that you're trying to tune with your Emtron. The next tutorial will look at setting up our 2D and 3D tables such as fuel, spark, variable cam. We're also going to set up some programming logic, so it's going to use the flex fuel-based control, or the volumetric efficiency tables will switch based on VTEC or non-VTEC operation modes. We have a lot of things that we need to cover in that next tutorial. Let's just focus and stay on the input and output setup for this tutorial and keep this very, very dedicated for that specific function and task, because there's a lot of information to cover in just this tutorial alone. So let's go and jump into the Emtune software here. I have it open on my laptop screen. We can find, if we look at the very bottom left-hand corner of our screen, we see ECU detected. This means that the Ethernet cable, which is plugged into my laptop, is tied into the Emtron. We've established communication between the Emtron and my laptop. Now I am running an Ethernet to USB-C adapter cable. I've already configured the IP address for the Ethernet on my laptop here. So I'm not going to go through how to set that up. We've covered that in the training course. If you're wondering how to establish communication with the Ethernet cable, we have a dedicated tutorial on that specific task or topic. Let's jump in here, and what we're first going to do is upload a generic file to the KV8 box that we're working with here. So I need to go in and go ahead and upload the KV sample test or sample file from Emtron. This is not going to run this engine. This just simply gives us a starting point for a KV series box. Let's take a look at what we need to do here. So I have the software open. I do want to mention that I have the ignition key powered on, which is powering on the Emtron as well. That's why we've established our ECU detected down at the bottom. So everything is powered up, ready to go. In this configuration, I have a couple options I can choose. We can see anything that's going to be present here, not grayed out. We can click on and we can do that specific task. What we're interested in doing here is using the send cal to ECU. We want to go and send a generic file to the ECU to start off with. So I'm going to go up here to send cal to ECU, and then we can see this is going to be the Emtron cal folder, and this is going to be housing the different sample files that have available. There's really not a lot available, so we're going to use our KV sample file. Again, that's not going to run the engine. This is simply going to give us a starting point to begin building our base map from. So I'm going to go ahead and choose the KV sample file and click OK. And then it's going to say, once the file's been sent, a store will be performed automatically, erasing all ECU data. That's fine. We're going to erase whatever's on there. I believe the last time I was using this Emtron box was on the test bench doing the filming for the training course, and so whatever's on there isn't going to be relevant either. So let's let this send that file to the ECU. It takes a little bit here. As soon as it sends, it's going to do a store as well here, so let's just be patient. And we can see storing calibration and restarting ECU, so it's restarting the ECU. So now it's wiped out whatever is on the ECU, and now we're starting off fresh with this generic file to begin our base map creation process here. So complete successfully. go ahead and click OK here. So now what we're going to do is go up to Open ECU. We're going to connect to the Emtron, and then we're going to start to dig in, setting up and building out our base file again for just looking at the configuration details, setting inputs and outputs. So let's go in here to Open ECU. Let's give this a second. And now we can see we have downloaded that base generic file that we've uploaded just a second ago. What we're going to do here is move from our tuning tab and go over to configure. And here we need to go and configure, starting off with engine setup. We need to go through all of these details right here. Now, one thing we're going to notice is that we have a lot of DTC codes being set. So it looks like this particular base file that we've uploaded must have ran 2 lambda sensors. It has drive-by-wire. We can see it's throwing these errors. As we go through here, we're going to be turning things off in their configuration setup for inputs and outputs. So these DTCs, or these error codes that are tripping because the sensors aren't present or something's not right with the configuration, we're going to get rid of those. So we should see that it's going to just show all green right here, and no DTCs are going to be set once we've completed at least this tutorial. So let's jump in and take a look at some of our configuration details. So first things first, let's go to engine setup and let's go to engine main. Under engine main here, we need to go and establish the baseline basic details for the engine that we're working with. So thanks for checking out our teaser clip. If you want to see the rest of this video and more than 500 hours of current EFI training we have to offer, make sure you click right here. If you want to go and check out more teaser clips from this training course, click here, and you don't want to miss any of the videos we're going to be releasing on this channel, so make sure you subscribe and click here. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.